Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are a compositional duo that have really defined the music for movies over the last decade. Between The Social Network, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and now HBO's new series Watchmen, their sound is synonymous with everything that is cool and fresh in score composition today. In this video, I'm going to analyze the techniques they use to create their sounds, and then use those techniques to produce a cue of my own in the style of Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. The particular cue I'm looking at for this video is Objects in Mirror from the Watchmen soundtrack. In this cue, they use a distorted synth bass line to really give this feeling of power and purpose to the character. It really is a call to action for what's going on in the film at the time. So we're going to dig into how they create that driving bass line, and also how they make their beat and how they use syncopation to add variety to it. Then we'll look into how they use sequence arpeggiated patterns, and then finally how they use noise elements to just tie everything together. So let's first look at the synth bass line. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross don't really use very complex chord progressions. Instead, they use a simple alternating pattern between the tonic and the minor seventh. This pattern is a foundation and adds stability that they can build on throughout the cue. First, to create this bass line, I'm going to record something into Logic using MIDI and a simple VST instrument. Then, once I edit the MIDI to where I want it, I can use this MIDI to drive the modular. I'm going to use the dual phase oscillator, or DPO, from MakeNoise. And I'm going to take oscillator 1 and drive it into oscillator 2 and use that FM distortion to add texture. Then I'm going to use the wave shaper to add more texture and color to the bass line. This is going to give us that distinct synth distortion that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross use. Now that Logic is driving the modular using that MIDI information, I can hit record and use the knobs to dial in different modulation patterns and add texture and variety to the bass line as the piece goes on. And here's what I came up with. Next, we're going to lay down that synth beat. Now, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross in this score, it sounds to me like they use a 909, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use the 909 sample instrument in Logic and just dial in a simple pattern. Now, in this cue, Objects in Mirror, the beat starts out as a simple pattern and then kind of progresses as the cue goes on. I'm going to use a similar technique in my cue. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this simple pattern that I copied into Logic and add some variety, starting out with the kick drum. Then I'm going to add some more hi-hat and some more cymbals in the end. This really adds to the build and the texture of the piece. Now, to add a little bit of variety, I'm going to use the MakeNoise shared system to make a percussive synth patch. I'm using the strike envelope on the mod mix and the mass envelope with a really quick fall to create that percussive pattern. And then I'm going to play it with the pressure points. All right, let's hit record, and now I'm going to play this in. Cool. Now I think that adds a bit of variety and syncopation to the 909 beat. Something that's really characteristic of Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor's style is their use of sequenced arpeggiated patterns to build on their score cues. I'm going to try a similar technique using the MakeNoise shared system. Then I'm going to run these things through a couple different filters and some envelopes to add modulation and variety as the sequence goes on. I'm also going to detune this a little bit to add to that feel of microtonality, just to add some more color to the piece. Now we come to what is possibly one of the most characteristic sounds in Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's style. That is that reverb, lead, drone synth sound that they have pretty much over everything or most of their most iconic cues. To recreate this kind of sound, I'm going to use the MakeNoise Telharmonic module. I'm going to then filter that with the Q pass and then run it into the reverb. I'm going to crank the reverb and try to see if I can get that space and eerie feeling that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are able to get in their scores. Now, I'm going to hit record and just play this using the tonic knob and the Q pass filter cutoff. Now, the tonic knob isn't quantized to any particular pitch, so this gives us another opportunity to get that microtonal or detuned sound that we're going for. This will really add a lot of texture and feeling of mystery to our lead. Something that gives Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross a really unique sound is their use of these different sound and noise elements that they cut up and pepper in throughout their cue to really give it variety and personality. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Telharmonic module again. I'm going to put it back into the Q pass, but this time I'm going to use the noise output. So then I'm going to use the cutoff to really sweep through the different harmonic peaks and just record a long line of noise. So then I'm going to go back and cut it all up and pepper it back in to really give it those unique percussive sounds and really add a lot of character to this cue. All right, that's about it. All I need to do now is bring it into Logic and mix it all down. That's a little bit too much to get into now, so I'll just make a time lapse and I'll play back the final cue over the time lapse and you can watch it and listen at the same time. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please hit that like button and leave me a comment below. And if you like this kind of content, please hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next video.